Momento. All right. We is live. That's what I'm talking about. Let me just bring up. All right. People. Let me just check. Inna alhamdulillah wa kafah. والصلاة والسلام على رسوله المصطفى وعلى عباده الذين ارتضى ومن بهداهم اهتدى وبآثار أهل المدينة اقتفى وبعد فسلام الله على القوم أهلا وسهلا بكم ومرحبا Juan Layth, bienvenidos a todos mi gente orale khushamadid bakhair raghale and Swagatam, people. We is live. All right. Let me just check on, what is it? Mi gente on Facebook. What's going down? All right. Chicos y chicas, let me just see. All right, Sid is in the house. You're doing it, Sid. You're doing it. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Quite early, somebody says. No, it's not actually early. It's actually late by Monday night's standard, but it's cool. Ibrahim, salamu alaikum, Mufti Abu Layth. Oliver, greetings from Belgium. Likewise, people, right back at you. All the love, shukran, hola. All right, ¿qué tal? What's going down? Or if I blend it with the ¿qué onda? With that one, you can kind of blend it with the Desi and the Hispanic folks. ¿Qué onda? Oh, ¿qué onda? Right, so people, que lo que? Right, what's going on? Shera da put is with us. Right, you're doing it. Right, people, right back at you, all the love. Shukran Mansoor from India, you're doing it. So, what is going on, people? What is going on? Huh? You know, we're hearing all this news. There's so much going on throughout the world, so much fear, panic, frustration, politics, health concerns. Then we're hearing that the masks are faulty. The masks are faulty, people. How many masks should a person wear? I mean, he's not a fake persona enough. But then we've got the genius of some fair play. All right. See, that's how you combat the situation, people. Those of you just tuning in, I'm going to... right, I've got to share it to my other page. Let me just bring this back. All right, so click like, click share, people. Let me just see what's going down. Last time you didn't answer my question. Huh? Ye dekho. A ver. We got someone frustrated that I didn't answer their question. Acha. Bueno. This one not nice, my friend. What the faulty... right. Oh my god. What's going on? Please never leave the UK. Oh, I have no intention on leaving the UK. Let me just share this to my other page. Un momentico. Right, so... All right, there it is, people. There, I see you all now. I see you that have tuned in. You... I mean, almost done. All right. Done. Awesome. 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 All right. Just start a charity here to help. All right. What have I just done? See? Even my computer didn't like that suggestion. Let me see. To help those who need food and supplies, we would support. Awesome. I have got a. Somebody sent me a link. I'm going to speak a bit about that. Remind me about a website they've got where you put the support that you're providing in your community. You kind of update, and it allows people a kind of map to be able to look out for the resources that they need within that area during this crisis, the corona crisis, people. All right, people, missing me every day. Ya salam. Yeah, this is the love and the appreciation that's going that I get. Hayyakumullah. Somebody saying I really enjoyed your podcast. Excellent. That's what I'd like to share a few thoughts on that. And then I will be taking a lot of questions, but I did want to share some thoughts on that. Let's before we get into that, whilst people are tuning in, whilst they're subscribing, clicking like, doing the usual, I tell you what, here's a bit of Jaun Ilya.
जबकि सबब भी बाकी हो, क्या मैं अब भी जिंदा हूँ, क्या तुम अब भी बाकी हो? अजब था उसकी दिलदारी का अंदाज। ये हम गरीब आदमी हैं, सैयद हैं, मौलाई हैं, भंग पीते हैं, हालत हाल के सबब
भंग पीते हैं। Look at the honesty though. I love the honesty.
शौक में कुछ नहीं गया, शौक की जिंदगी गई। वाह। अब सुनिए आप, एक गली थी जब उससे हम निकले, एक गली थी जब उससे हम निकले, सुनो, एक गली थी जब उससे हम निकले, ऐसे निकले कि जैसे दम निकले।
Wah, 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 wah. And to top it up, people, because I know some of you are depressed, I came across another interesting one. I thought I'll share that as well.
इश्क में ज़ेरो ज़बर होनी चाहिए थी, उसे मेरे हाल की खबर होनी चाहिए थी, उसने भी किए थे दावे मोहब्बत के, मेरे साथ उसकी भी कबर होनी चाहिए थी।
उफ दुखी आत्माज यार, दुखी लोग हैं, क्या करें। What is going on? What is bothering mi gente? Let me speak about some updates, then we're going to take a look at the political situation and deal with your questions as well. So, right, people, I have began a new show, podcast called Mind Trap with Mufti Layth. All right, people, doing it. Right, so this Mind Trap, if you haven't checked it out already, it's a podcast, it's a discussion, it's a dialogue. There's some great objectives I've got behind this, but if you haven't already checked this out, do check it out. It's on YouTube, on my page. It's got its own playlist. You can just I've done about 9 episodes already, so do check that out. What it is what am I trying to do with all of this? I want to kind of just share some thoughts, and then we'll get back to your questions. You see, this Mind Trap with Mufti Layth, or Mind Trap with Mufti, this is something I've wanted to do now for probably just under a year. It's probably around late spring, early summer last year that I got this thought that, look, I would like to do a podcast where I'm speaking with people, and I'm just giving you guys a bit of a backdrop to this. And I thought that, look, where we could engage in difficult discussions, but keep it real, real talk. They could be friendly, casual, and get a variety of people on and just really talk like how we talk off air. So on many occasions sometimes I used to, let's say before, although I haven't been active on Snapchat for quite some while now, but I was active before, and on Insta Story I still am. So sometimes I'm having a discussion and I'll share some stories, and people will say, look, these are interesting discussions. Why don't you, it would be great if you could actually share them. And so this is kind of what fired up that thought. Now, I did try setting this up for several months, for almost half a year. It just was not working with much success for one reason or another. I mean, first we were thinking of the actual physical layout, calling somebody in a studio, and just one hiccup after another. And then I thought to myself, actually it may be better if I could set up a virtual studio. That way people have no spatial restrictions. You can call them in from anywhere. And so, yeah, I mean, with the quarantine, I was kind of reminded by some good friends that, look, get off your... about time you stop being so lazy and do something, get a move on with this. And I thought, well, why not? And alhamdulillah, it's been great. I've been thoroughly enjoying it. In fact, this quarantine has been highly productive for me. I mean, this whole series so far, I've done about 9 interviews, and it's been just thoroughly, because even before the interview, you see, there's the networking, there's the reaching out to people, there's the discussion beforehand, there's the podcast, discussion after the podcast. Obviously, when I switch off, I'm usually still talking to them, maybe an hour, sometimes more. It's been thoroughly productive, engaging, and entertaining in a very beneficial way for me. So, but the objective behind this is to let you guys have a glimpse into the real world of when people are discussing. I mean, it's not restricted to ulama, by the way, or Islamic scholars, but even when people are having discussions in a very real, like a bear, keeping it kind of raw and real. And this is why some of them will have things like, people may swear on they may, I mean, not swear at me, but they may swear in their usage. And so, yeah, but I feel that so far we've, just to give you some idea, that we've, there was an interesting discussion with, there was an Sheikh Mazhar from, I think that was the second episode, from the US, where we spoke about kind of cultism and bullying within religious circles, and then there was I'm just trying to think of some key ones. There was Momadou Tal, I think the 5th episode, where we spoke about social issues, urban anxiety, depression amongst young people, and those kind of topics. And then I spoke on one with Sheikh Sidi Iqbal, a very interesting, deep discussion on issues of religion, theology, Islam, the Maliki Madhab, all of these things really. There was Doc Imran from Metroflex, and that was incredibly fascinating. The topic of toxic masculinity and toxic femininity, gender roles. That was a very real episode as well, like keeping it real. If you haven't seen it, do check it out. In addition to that, then there was with Ustada Tahira from Chicago. That was very interesting. I mean, especially when it got to the point about spiritual abuse. We had perhaps on some things a different perspective, getting into that what constitutes abuse and how should there be some parameters, definitions? I mean, or is it just... I thought that was a very fascinating part of that discussion. It was very real. We also discussed the Osama Khan kind of controversy, although it wasn't necessarily about that, but that kind of stemmed. That was from that discussion stemmed. And then the last one was with a fellow atheist friend, a fellow friend who, a kind of somebody who's always he's got great ideas, Dale Bett, and that was on atheism, and we discussed things like narratological truths and narratives that human beings need within society, and can there be a world without religion? Is religion always harmful? These were some interesting discussions. So do check this series out, and if you do have other people that you think I should get on the show, if you're already on a kind of level with them, just one moment, just trying to see if I could... Hello. Whoa. All right. If you do have some people who are on somewhat of a level with you, and they're interesting and also interested, then do ask them and do reach out to me about them. I mean, I'd love to get them on. It'd be awesome. I have asked, some people are saying... Right, so I have got quite a few people already, and I'm kind of trying to coordinate dates. I'm also trying to upgrade the system I've got as well, which is in the works. But do reach out to me with people, but maybe ask them as well. Sometimes I feel... you see, I've felt... This is just real talk. Zeba saying I'm interesting. You most certainly are, Zebaji. Absolutely interesting. But I feel that you see, there's certain things like, one, because I'm a controversial person, some people are a bit reluctant to kind of come on a podcast with me. That's one issue. But then I feel greater than that is, I think that many people, or these kind of speakers and these thinkers, especially within the Muslim scene, are a bit intimidated by me. I don't know why. I'm an absolutely friendly person. I mean, there's nothing... But I genuinely get that impression, and I've been kind of told by some people as well. You see, they're afraid that I'm gonna kind of bring them on live and put it on them whilst they're live, and kind of, maybe mock them, or I don't know, or maybe they won't be able to answer me, and I don't know. I think there's a lot of these kind of anxieties going on. So I think now that I've done about 9 episodes, in fact today I'd already got several kind of feedback from people who I'd messaged already, now that they've seen, well, actually, he's not been doing that. He's been quite respectful. He's been quite so quite a few have responded positively. Yeah, I'm keen to kind of do that with people. Do let me know. Somebody said, what about Molvi Makari? Makari and the Lion of Ahl Sunnah. People, if the mic is... I just tweaked something over there, so I'm not sure if it's caused a kind of negative. So if the mic is playing up a bit, or you're hearing some kind of... just let me know. Cool. Right, what is going on? Mufti, love from Germany. Alright, you're doing it. So, what is going on, people? What is going on? Right, mic is perfect. Awesome. Right, so where does the phrase come from? Omar, I'll come to your question in just a moment. Where does the phrase come from? Jaldi shaitan ka kaam hai. Which means in Urdu, I mean, it's an Urdu statement, but what it means is that doing something in a hurry is from the devil's work. This comes from a hadith which has some problems with it, but I think it could be an authentic hadith, and it's trying to say, and the hadith says, al-ujlatu min ash-shaytan, wal-anatu min ar-rahman. Now, it means that kind of hastening to do things, haste is from the devil, and taking your time in doing something diligently is from God. I don't think this is a literal thing, but it's religious rhetoric that is being used to say to people that, look, when you're trying to do something, try not to do it in haste. Try to do things carefully, and meticulously. They will be much better off. So I think the message is still kind of true. What about Umar Suleiman? I have messaged Umar Suleiman. I haven't heard back from him yet. Asrar, Asim, Dr. Asim Yusuf. Yeah, sure, I'd love to. I'll drop him a message, actually. It's a good point. Somebody mentioning Asrar, beloved. You see, the problem is, I don't think people like Asrar are capable of a dialogue. The whole point of this is not to start an argument, because if I do that, all that would happen is it will then deter other guests from coming on. So if I get somebody on and it turns very just like, shouting and raising, just turning into an argument or becoming an embarrassment, what that will do is other guests I have lined up, they will probably watch it and think, you know what, maybe, this one not nice, So, and in all honesty, I don't think Asrar is capable of a civil kind of dialogue like that. There's too much. I mean, he is capable as a human being, but I think not with me, because there's too much power dynamics at play. Asrar, just like the rest of these mullahs, plays to the mob mentality. These people are populist, like populist kind of like leaders, if you like, just like how Trump is in his own way. Obviously, I'm not saying Asrar is necessarily racist or something, but in his own way, this populism, all it really is just playing to the mob mentality. So they will, if I invite him on, he'll probably accept the offer, but he'll be told by his, the mob that, you have to put Mufti in his place, make sure like last time he came, he got a phone call from somebody on the way telling him that, look, make sure you put Mufti in his place, get him to apologize for something so you can show the public you set him straight. And get him to kind of like restrict his humor and tell him, place these conditions, and whatever you do, keep it firm, make it look like you're kind of telling him off. And he was being given these guidelines by people whilst he was driving to our meet last time. So you see, this is the problem with people like that. They play to a mob mentality. They're not about genuine conversations. In fact, Asrar, once we switched the camera off, became a very decent person. Started having an awesome chat. Started chatting, started being friendly, cracking jokes. And I said, look, and in fact, our camera was still rolling. And he knows that. This is why he's not going to deny it. It's only his camera stopped. So he knows we've still got that on tape. I didn't release it because it doesn't really, let it be now. But the point is, we have got it. So if he denies it, we can always release it. It's where he starts talking comfortably, he starts cracking jokes, he starts becoming really relaxed. And then I said to him, look, how about we do this with the camera on? And he's like, no, he wasn't having it. And as soon as the camera came back on, he went back into character. So yeah, so I mean, he's not a good choice. But other people, if you do know them, chat to them, let me know. Right, people, Umar Yunus's question, can you touch upon the hadith about Mahdi in Abu Dawood, which talks about Banu Qalb and the death of a ruler prior to Al-Mahdi? Bashar al-Assad is from Banu Qalb as well. What's your opinion on this? Umar, in all honesty, there isn't a single hadith to do with the Mahdi that is sahih. I'm gonna, if you want to study how religions, as a case study of how religions absorb concepts and then these concepts eventually become mainstream and then institutionalized, this would be an amazing case study. The Mahdi concept in Islam, clearly, this is so clear to somebody who removes any biases and looks at it, came to this tradition. I mean, the Messiah concept already existed in most traditions, but it came to Islam through the Shia rebellion. Okay, it began with, in fact, the whole thing, even the names, okay, the Mahdi and being from the family of the Prophet and being, this whole thing was a very Shia kind of thing, that he had to be from Fatima radiallahu anha and this whole thing. And it begins with people like Mukhtar al-Thaqafi, who who set out to avenge the death of Hussein, now radiallahu an. But then it carries on after Mukhtar. It goes on to other people, some people claiming Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya is the Mahdi, other people claiming other people are the Mahdi. None of the Salaf speak about a Mahdi. Imam Malik never speaks about a Mahdi. There's no, this concept didn't exist then, because what is this Mahdi supposed to do? The Mahdi for the Shia was very important. He was supposed to set things straight finally against the tyrant regimes. So for a stream with a non-Muslim contact. Yeah, sure. Somebody said, are you open for a stream with a non-Muslim contact? Of course. Reach out to me on Instagram and we'll take it from there. Drop me a message and we'll take it from there. I'm absolutely open for all kinds of dialogues and discussions, civil discussions. So coming back to this Mahdi point, the Mahdi concept was really a kind of Shia thing. It was in essence part of their tradition, not part of the Sunni tradition. It only gets absorbed into mainstream Islam probably 500-600 years after the Prophet. And this is why Ibn Khaldun, when speaking about it, says that it comes from Shia Islam. It is absorbed through Sufis and their tariqas, who in some ways, had some resemblances in some practices to Shia practices. And then from here, it becomes mainstream Islam. So, I mean, there isn't a single Sahih hadith on things like the Mahdi. I mean, and I know most people do believe in the Mahdi, but I'm just being honest. This is how, and it's even, like I'm saying, even the name, it's always been a very kind of Shia thing, Mahdi. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be, but it means the rightly guided, but it's always been, like some names have kind of been on the Shia side and some on the other side. But cool. I mean, this isn't like a kind of attack on the Shia thing. This is just saying how Sunnis have actually been themselves, they've been kind of, unbeknownst to them, they've been influenced by the Shia tradition. So that's interesting. All right. Somebody saying, why have I been blocked? Well, then why can I see you then? What is going on, people? So, whilst we're waiting, right now, all right, people, we all know about what's going on in the UK, politics, coronavirus, and one of the most major high-figure victims is currently the Prime Minister himself, Boris Johnson, and there he is. You can see, look, you have visitors. Really, who? And it's the coffin dancers from Ghana. I totally love those guys. I can't get enough of their memes, honestly. Especially the one where they're kind of looking in when somebody's doing something stupid and they're just waiting. And then they've got the coffin up. But don't worry, people, don't worry.
No virus can
No
beat
virus,
us.
no virus,
No virus can beat Hanafis.
no virus,
Can beat
no virus, oh, no virus.
can beat the insane of Mustafa. नबी के गुलामों को कोई वायरस छू नहीं
कोई वायरस छू नहीं सकता. People, so I thought let's bring that in. I mean, what is going on with all of this? I personally, I have some thoughts. I'm a bit skeptical about the figures the government keeps telling us. I feel that the figures are skewed. I don't feel that they're an accurate reflection. I think in the sense that what they're doing is any deaths that bear any maybe a far-off resemblance to COVID, like he's coughing or something, they will put that death down to COVID. Just to right now beef up the figures, because I feel the figures help maintain the control. I also think the government is purposely stressing this stay at home. I do think, I think stay at home does reduce to some point obviously the spread of the virus, but I feel, now I could be completely wrong, but I feel it's not overwhelmingly substantial the way the government is making it out. And I think one of the reasons the government is doing this is because it's shifting the blame, because what it's doing is by saying to people, look, you're not staying at home, we're going to take away your rights to do exercise, we're going to take away, what's going to naturally happen is people will start blaming each other. So people will start, and it's already happening, so people are saying, what the hell, people are dying, why are you out of your house, it's your fault. You see, and it absolves the government of what they were really meant to be doing, which was meant to have a very, a very strong health service in place. They're meant to have fortified the NHS. And they haven't. They've set up one hospital, and Nightingale, and now maybe another one somewhere. They should have set up 15 hospitals by now. But I think the government, personally, this is my personal opinion, I think that that this neglect is perhaps intentional. Like, they don't really care too much. They just think, well, who cares? We'll do a little bit, and that's it. And what we'll do is we'll stress. I think initially they didn't even want the quarantine, but because the public mood was so overwhelming, they had to do it. Now they're optimizing it as a scapegoat because they stress stay at home, stay at home. This will then distract the attention of the public into blaming each other. When you ask the government now, the government will just say, oh, but we already gave you the cure, which was just stay at home, but you guys didn't listen. So it's your fault. It's not our fault. It's your fault. And I feel that's a great tactic. Hashtag Rajniti chal rahi hai, Baba. Rajniti. This is all a siyasa. Right, so... and this Boris Johnson thing, I don't know. Is this part of a drama as well, or is it real? I honestly don't know. And it could be real. Is it just a path to hail as a hero, back to victory? Because even these numbers, I think what's going to happen at some point, they're just going to start saying, look, we're controlling it. And rise as heroes. And I really, honestly, I have some genuine questions. I don't believe in these kind of global conspiracies or that aliens are here. Or I just feel that, and I don't feel that this virus was. I do think it was tweaked by humans, but I think the whole spread of it was accidental. It was no conspiracy. It was no plot. But now that it has spread, I really do believe that there are certain people that are massively profiting from it. And I'd love to know what that is, because even this quarantine, I am certain that there is, some kind of profiteering going on. Some kind of profiteering behind closed doors between people who, the movers and shakers. I'm sure of it. These things we see in like House of Cards and all of this stuff. Do we really think to some extent this stuff doesn't happen in the real world? I don't know. I feel it does to some extent. But I don't know. So you don't believe he's in intensive care? I genuinely, I'm just cynical and skeptical. I feel he is there, but is he real? Is he there under false pretenses, or is he there? Is this part of, like, maybe he was ill, but was he that ill that he needed to be hospitalized, he needed to go in? Or was this part of his PR to kind of garner in more sympathy and to kind of help them? You see, because it's already begun. If you read some of the comments on social media, our prime minister is struggling for his life. Come on, get behind him. It's already kind of begun. To be honest, if you were, what's his name? Frank Underwood. Not that Bojo is Frank Underwood from House of Cards. But if you were him, and if you were in this position, and you were slightly conniving, which most people are with some intelligence, what would you do? What kind of stunts would you pull? Like, let's just be honest. Let's think about it. And I think you'd rely on that kind of naivety of the public to never believe it. Like, I think even this guy that, whatever happened with, what was it, Sajid Javid, whatever, he resigns, the politics behind that, I wonder what it was. This Rishi guy that comes in, he's the son of some huge business tycoon, I hear, from India. I wonder what kind of, behind the scenes deals were done there to make him, that in that position. I just think, I do believe that there's always a lot more going on than people know. But that's my thoughts anyway. Chalo, now I've that's me being a political analyst. Yeah. So, right, what is going on, people? Naz Hussein, do you think Yahweh is the name of Allah? No, I don't think Yahweh is the name of Allah. So it's interesting because Yahweh is a god from the household of El, isn't he? So Yahweh was one god from a household of gods, and that name then ends up becoming the main god for Judaism, which then eventually signifies God with a capital G. So, but the kind of developmental journey of Yahweh does not originate with him being the ultimate God. It begins with him being a God from a household of gods. A bit like, very far-fetched, but a poor analogy is like saying how, for example, Ram in Hinduism, I suppose, is, within a structure of all these other, he is the reincarnation of Vishnu, and he's this and he's that. And yet, to some extent, he then comes to symbolize God altogether, Ram. To some extent, it's a poor analogy, but to give you an example. Switzerland, yeah, absolutely. Sweden as well have no lockdown policy. Taiwan seem to have something interesting going on, and WHO don't even seem to be acknowledging them, and they seem to have locked down this whole coronavirus. or flatten the curve, so to speak. Mufti Saab, are you in favor of getting married 4 times if the guy has means? Abu Unaysa. Oof, toba, toba, toba. 4 different women at the same time, huh? I'm just thinking of the mental headache. I'm not thinking of the physical thing. Because after a certain while, I'm sure you're going to be to some extent bored anyway. Or you mean 4 at one time, then move on to a new batch of 4? It's what is it? The jungle, huh? The law of the jungle. Allahu Akbar. I don't know if they'll let you live though. You know, it'll be like every time you're drinking a cup of coffee, you'll have to be like, you'll need like a taster with you, like somebody who's a guarantor. I mean, if it's poisoned or not, you've got to always, he's got to bite the bullet for you. It's like, there you go, bro. Take one for the team. No, but on a serious note, I think if people can get married multiple times and it works, then why not? Why not if they can? You know, what's life if not lived? Until it's not lived anymore. Until they get together and kill him. And they go, this is just, they go, just add this to the COVID rate. It's all right. He was coughing. If it is essential nature of God to be God, can be other. Yeah. What kind of a question is this? Right. It is. If it is the essential nature of God to be, i.e., God, cannot not be. Am I? Is that drink still? Have I still got the alcohol effect, or can I not read this question? ألا يا أيها الساقي أدر كأسا وناولها الله 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 فمن توقعه نفس في شراك العشق يعزلها Allah, Allah, Allah. So that's one of Shirazi's, Hafiz Shirazi's poems actually, that ألا يا أيها الساقي أدر كأسا وناولها. That Saqi, you know, the one who gives you something to drink. A bit of that, the alcohol. He says, keep the cups, keep the drinks coming. Pass it over. Nawilha. فَمَنْ تُوقِعْهُ نَفْسٌ فِيهِ. So, whosoever has been thrown by his own nafs, his soul, into shirak al-ishq, the trap of love, يعذلها, he can only blame his own self. Allah, 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 Allah. People, right, so it is the essential nature of God to be, i.e. God. Cannot not be can. Other things. Abbe yaar, bhol kya rahe ho yaar? Let's have a final attempt at this question, Ghalib Saab. Other things also be said to be. Can we attribute being to both God and creation? I think I'm not sober enough to really understand what you're asking. Let's put that under the categories of mysteries of creation for now. Mufti, you've trapped me in your love. Wah, 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 wah. Gio. See, this is why there's the scandals, you know, the scandals, man. People, they want the scandal. So, can you quote from where you have that Ibn Hajr chaste women? Actually, a Hanafi scholar, Zahid al-Kawthari, brings it in an argument where he's refuting Ibn Hajr. And he brings all these narrations that Ibn Hajr used to do this and used to do that. But don't get me wrong, I respect Ibn Hajr, and I respect him even more for that, in a way, because he's being real. Not, you know, look, if he wanted to chase women, He chased them. I mean, it's to some extent a natural human thing to do. It's not, but I'm not saying you need to go around chasing women. What I'm trying to say is, in my eyes, it makes him just human. So I kind of respect him even more from that aspect. Mufti Saab, you're a sex symbol now. Why have some of my videos leaked? Hi. That would be an ultimate disaster, wouldn't it? Not that there are any videos. Relájate, tranquilo. Tranquilo, hermanito. It's all good. Is dyeing the hair black haram? And why some people prohibit it? Right, so it's not haram according to the school of Medina Maliki Madhab, but some madhabs do consider dyeing the hair to be black to be wrong, like the Hanafis. And you see, they base it on a hadith. They say the Prophet said it, but the others understand that saying, if true, to mean that he said it in a way where it didn't suit someone. Like imagine somebody is, I don't know, 60 years old, 65 years old, 70 years old. Like, if that person had jet black hair at that age, it doesn't suit the person. It would suit them better to kind of, it doesn't look graceful, it doesn't look good, it looks weird. So sometimes, you get the kind of the desi uncles, you see, but now I suppose I must be amongst them now. They must be like, yaar, tu uncle kisko bol raha hai? You're from our age group now. No, but you get some older than me, but they've got the whole, they've got the tail shell jet black hair, the jet black. To be fair, my hair has naturally, I mean, I'm not saying that, but generally the color of my hair was like a very dark, uber dark black. It was like that even from like when I was young. So it used to be very dark, and people used to think, so when I used to study in Pakistan, and I was only like 19, 20, and I remember the teachers used to think that I wear what they have this thing called kala kola. You dye your hair jet black, and they used to think I must wear that because my hair was really black. But it's just been like that. That's I'm not saying now, ab to budhape ke is umar mein, now at this old age in life. So what's going on? Somebody said chasing women isn't natural, it's harassment. Right, let me put that caveat in there. I didn't mean chasing women in the sense harassing them. Abe yaar, understand the subtext. One problem is I'm speaking to jahils. Are jahilo. Right, juhal. Right, you have to understand the subtext. I mean chasing as in where it's being received as well, like as in the attraction. Comprendido? No, is that Mufti, how old are you? I'm too old now, yaar. I'm now what am I, 41? Yaar, it's not that I feel it. I should be acting my age, but yeah. So, right. Yeah, I mean, somebody said women like their men. Robin said to chase them. Yep, that is. Why not? Of course, as long as it's good, not in a harassment sense. I don't mean in a harassment. I'm categorically against harassing women and things like that. What are your thoughts on the book, The Sealed Nectar? Yeah, I'm not too keen on that, but I think it's okay. But it's typical of Sirah books. Right, so what is your question? Your voice is on TikTok. Yeah, I saw this. There's this whole thing with this you nutty, you teasing me, and people are doing this as a voiceover. I was like, karo yaar, have fun with it. Don't worry, it's good. It's good. It kind of look. No press is bad press, and this is still good press. You know, somebody said, "Oh, Mufti, you should be making royalties of this. You know, it's not you. You should be making money." Relax, yaar. Money is not everything in this world. So, sarson ka tel. Somebody asked a question. Your voice is on. Mufti, I asked. Where's it gone? Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad. Oh, right. That's a great. Shukran, Mariam, for that. I will reach out to Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad. And hopefully we can get a kind of discussion going. Inaya Mufti is 41 but looks 28. See, this is where the gullible me then. You're teasing me. This is boomer. Yeah, old age now, old age. Wisdom, people, wisdom. That's what it is. What else? Let's take some. Somebody said, do you think this corona is a punishment from God? Of course it isn't. This is not a punishment from God, people. Calm yourselves down. This is not a punishment from God. Trying to read the full question. Make t-shirts. I will get some merch soon. So let's see. Mufti, what fiqh is the correct one? Well, I mean, any fiqh is valid from the fiqhs that survive. However, obviously, I'm going to say the school of Medina. Alright, the Maliki Method. I will at some point do a course on it as well. I have got some courses on it on YouTube already. Do check them out in my playlist. Chaudhry Saab, salams all the way from Sialkot. Love you. Gio, love you, yaar. Right back at you. Yusuf, shukran. Much love. I take it Zeba had asked a question. The dream of a believer is part. Dreams cannot be false. Please share your thoughts. It's just that it went right to the top and I'm trying to read it. So dreams, what do dreams mean? You see, okay, now I've kind of, my views on dreams have evolved over time. So where I stand today on dreams may not have been where I stood a few years ago, and I don't know in the future whether I'll stand where I am today on this. I used to believe that dreams were kind of just absolutely meaningless, and they were just your kind of imagination, creativity, memories, entangled and just randomly, sporadically kind of surfacing. And that's something that some psychological theories that explain dreams use that model. I mean, there are others like Freud about suppressed kind of desires and things like this. Now, I now kind of do feel that not always, but I feel that dreams do have the capacity to, I don't know, like I feel like there were some theoreticians that have, and this was part of physics, some physicists that had actually posited that what if dreams were another dimension? The way you have 3 dimensions, you have dimension of time that is put into that 4 dimensions. What if a dimension was dreams? Now that sounds a bit crazy at first, but I don't know now. At this stage in life, I feel that consciousness is something that I didn't really, I mean, I still don't understand it necessarily. I don't think anybody totally understands it, but I feel that it's something I overlooked, and it's much more powerful than I thought. Maybe there is another realm to dreams in which people do kind of have some subliminal, kind of sublingual kind of communication that they do manage to, at a low frequency, connect with people. It's strange because some dreams can be so powerful. Some dreams can be freaky, and then I suppose your dreams can be influenced as well. I have like crazy dreams. Like, I mean, my dreams are like full feature kind of movies. I wake up kind of like just exhausted from my dream. Honestly, I'm like, God damn. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, thank God. Thank God that was just a dream. That was stressful. And sometimes I don't know. They just leave me kind of bewildered. Like, I don't know if much happens, but I'm about to. It's just, I don't know, but I just wake up strange after them, and it lingers with me. I don't know whether that's because of the glutamine I take. I do take daily glutamine as an amino acid, and I know that can heighten your dreams. Cool, people. What is going on? Have you read the book Biocentrism? Should check it out. Shukran, Sheradaput. I will check it out. I haven't, no. Zeba saying she believes in dreams. Yep. And I do now, but I didn't before. I'm just saying I don't know. Like, I continue to develop. We all continue to develop. Somebody's asked me that. What are my thoughts on Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahab? This Muhammad ibn Abdul-Wahab, I don't know, like, it depends, like, what are my thoughts on him? Well, okay, let's start off simple. Now, if I was to, let's say we look at it dichotomously, as in just a bipolar fashion, in the sense negative, positive. What are my thoughts? My thoughts on him are, if I was to group him in one, and I could only group him in negative or positive, then at a simple level, I would probably put him in negative. That said, as we build on that simplicity, I'm sure there were things he did which were good as well. It doesn't mean that when somebody does something, it doesn't mean that they are the kind of embodiment of evil, but he did have very strange hardline. He was a pure uber dogmatist. He was a puritanist. He considered, he kind of linked up with the Saud family, and they benefited from each other, and he wanted to establish this Puritan state. He wanted to kind of he did knock down several tombs, and he thought that this was kind of all polytheism and shirk, and he did, and he killed people. He killed many pilgrims. He thought they were kind of polytheists because they weren't practicing pure Islam. He inspired a movement which I feel was dangerous. The Salafi movement, the Ahlul Hadith movement. You see, it does not mean that no good came from it, because I just want to clarify, things are more complex than that. Good did come from the Salafi movement as well, but I feel overall it did much more harm than it did good. But it did good as well. It revived the concept of hadith. It once again challenged the concept of blindly following. It did challenge the the lack of Quran or Sunnah in discourse. It kind of revealed superstitions. So I feel that there was great goodness that did come from the Salafi movement as well. But it also kind of it injected a level of kind of like hatred, this Puritanist hatred into people. It also is the number one springboard for extremism. Although that doesn't mean every Salafi is an extremist at all. It does not mean that at all. But it is a very easy springboard to kind of land in extremist views from the Salafi doctrine. So I don't, it has huge problems. It anthropomorphizes God. But it's not even about the anthropomorphization. It's more about the way of thinking. So yeah, that's, if I could, I hope that gives some clarity. Shera Daput has asked, are Martin Ling's bio on the Prophet reliable? I have got it somewhere, but I've never really read it, to be honest. I mean, I think I've read a bit of it, but I didn't really finish the book and I didn't go through it. I'm not sure. I think he's based it on Ibn Hisham and things like this. I don't know. I think he has based it on, but then I suppose where is he getting the Sirat Ibn Hisham? He's maybe based it on other people who've said that. I don't know. I'll have to. That's a good question. I'll have to look into it. I thought he presents the Prophet in a very sensible way. I thought. I could be wrong though, because I haven't read it. I don't want to speak out of out of place. Mufti Saab, can you answer my super chat? I'm a psychiatrist dealing with adults and kids and addiction, especially marijuana. Thoughts on wave? Thoughts on wave of legalization regarding Muslim community, tons of use with Muslims. I've said before, I do feel that marijuana should be legalized. I do feel that because I feel it would just take away the whole drug industry. And if it's legalized, it would be regulated, and therefore you would have a kind of a purer quality that can be, there'd be quality assurance. The government could benefit. It always wants taxes. There are only two things certain in life: death and taxes. So I feel that it should. I do support that argument. And I have spoken previously about marijuana, and I have said, although I don't believe it's haram, but I do believe it is haram for people who are, there's a bit of a shady area in maybe from 25 to 18, but below that, categorically haram. Even 18, I think it's probably borderline. I think until your neuroplasticity hasn't really set out in the brain, I think damaging the synapses and things is very dangerous. Mufti, which woman would you rather marry? Algerian or Moroccan? Yeah, I'm a man of the world. Could I say no to anyone? How much do you weigh? How much do I weigh? That's an interesting question. I mean, no, it's not an interesting question. I mean, I'm just intrigued why that's an interesting... I don't know. I think I weigh about, what is it? I think, you see, I don't actually weigh myself much. Honestly, I probably last time like as a one-off, I may weigh myself. I'm not at all fussed about weighing. I'm more about how I feel. Like if I feel I'm out of shape, or I feel I haven't worked out, or I feel I'm putting on weight, or I feel I'm losing weight, I don't actually weigh myself generally. But I think last time I was probably about 12.5 stones or something like that, I think, yeah. Right, so Mufti, you should stick to the Pakistanis. How tall are you? I'm 5'9". I'm just average people. How you should stick to, there's a lot of these personal ये हो क्या रहा है बाबा, ये हो क्या रहा है. So somebody saying you should stick to Pakistani, somebody saying you should, what about Moroccan, somebody saying what about this, what about that. यार ये वाह 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 वाह. Mufti, can you make a video of describing how to do wudu according to Maliki fiqh? I was going to do that. I do intend on doing that. Inaya saying you still can't see my super chats. Yeah, I did unblock your thing, by the way. So I don't know what that is. I'll check it again. But I am sure I did unblock it. Right. Oh, damn. I've forgotten what I was about to say now. Moroccan equals crazy Algerian equals more crazy. Somebody's had some bad experiences with, I think, North African women. I think you guys are just... I think the issue... Sometimes the issue is with the person themselves. Okay, you have to be a kind of chilled out personality, I think. Right, so you have to... You know, I think sometimes people themselves are problems in how you handle things, how you handle people as well. Sheikh, ¿puedes explicar el debate entre Abul-Walid al-Baji y Ibn Hazm? Saludos desde El Cairo. Estoy con Muaz. All right, you're doing it. Right, so the debate between al-Baji and Ibn Hazm, I'll speak about that in just a moment. Right, Mufti, I reached out to you on Instagram. Jazak for any advice. Sure, I'll check that out, inshallah. Mufti, if the beard was only custom, why did the prophets say Allah commanded him to grow it? Yeah, you see, now first of all, if that hadith is true, I don't believe that hadith is actually true, but some people have transmitted it like that. Inaya, that's a very powerful question. Wow. Do you believe our thoughts create reality? I have more and more started to think like that. I don't know, like sometimes do you get these thoughts that you think, that you know, I watched this movie once, right? Let me share this with you. And in this movie they kind of stranded. I forgot what it's called now, but they're stranded on a highway somewhere, an expressway, like a American kind of, not a motorway, but so and they're kind of stranded. I think the car breaks down and they're trying to survive. They run out of water. They fight. There's two guys, two friends. But then there's this point where they're at breaking point right at the end and they're almost dying and they kind of reach this place eventually and there's no water in the tap or anything and they sit back and they're just kind of like, beaten by the heat and the sun and dust and dry mouth and dying for, out of thirst. And what happens is from that point, one of them kind of like sees something and they, I think there's some water and then they get some help and then they're back home, then they're with their families and then everything's awesome and life's going so good until one point where one of them says to the other, like everything's going so well, he says, listen, he says, everything's going so perfect, isn't that strange? And he says, the other person says, well, I guess so. And he says that I don't think we're actually here. I think we're still stranded at that place. And this is our imagination that as we're dying, it's inventing this story. But I was so, that thought has lasted with me. I watched this movie probably 10 years ago, 11 years ago or something. I don't know. I watched it ages ago. But that thought has always stayed with me. Like I've always thought at times, damn, what if this is... is this real or is it not real? I don't know. Like these are sometimes the kind of crazy thoughts that I have. But yeah, I definitely think the way we think impacts our reality. That's unquestionable. Okay. So, yeah. Whether it totally creates it or not. To the wrong... More careful, Mufti. To the wrong folder. Mufti, do you have thoughts on different qira'ats of the Quran? Do I have thoughts on it? What's it called? I want to YouTube. I can't remember. I think it's called root something. You know, like how Americans say route. Root. I think, is it called root something? I can't remember. I think so. Would you debate apostate prophet? Oof. Debate. But I would have a discussion with him, inshallah, at some point. I'll call him on the show as well. Right. Warsh is main. Thoughts. See, Abdul Alim has just come on and he's just said, Or Mufti. Alright. Osman Tahir has asked a question. How can we connect with the Quran as non-Arabs? You can learn Arabic, right, if you want to. It's a beautiful language, by the way. I absolutely adore Arabic. I mean, each language is unique. I find Arabic like really... because a language almost carries its history with it. Don't you think so sometimes? Because languages, by their very essence, are social phenomenon. They can only exist in society, and the day and age in which they exist, there's like feedback. So Arabic is a very kind of like a powerful kind of language, still echoing that era of power. And it's very, you can see how it could wield kind of control. And I do love it. It's amazing. Just as all languages are amazing in their own way. I find Urdu phenomenal in its poetic sense. I find it to be quite a soft language, Urdu. It doesn't have to be. I mean, people, I know there's an equal amount of swears, believe me, in Urdu, but I find it very kind of soft. Spanish I find amazing, but I find Spanish very kind of like a sexy kind of language. I think it's so amazing, isn't it? But an Italian, I think, a bit like that as well. But yeah, I think languages are something that we should invest our time in to learn. It's actually, nowadays, it's much easier than ever before. But how can people connect with the Quran? They can learn Arabic. If they can. That is the best way to connect. Failing that, then I suppose it's just recitation and translation. That's all you really can do, I guess. Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I mean, you can fix your pronunciation. You can work on tajweed. Yeah. Mufti, can you discuss the hadith where the Prophet said, I will not bless the people of Najd? Is that talking about Salafis? I'm not sure if it's talking about Salafis. Somebody said the movie's called Scenic Route. I don't think it is called Scenic Route, no. I think it was called something else, I think. Urdu is amazing. It is amazing. Actually, I had a poem around here somewhere. People. I came across this poem and I thought, wow, honestly. I was just wowed by it. It is a bit like many poems. It has a kind of dark undertone to it. But, chalo, let's see. It begins... It's by some guy called Khalid Nadeem. I don't think he's so popular, but I mean, unfortunately not, because this is amazing. This he says, "Khat ke chote se tarashe mein nahi aayenge, गम ज़्यादा हैं, गम ज़्यादा हैं, लिफाफे में नहीं आएंगे. That they won't fit into a part like a small envelope. Okay, that my sorrows are so much that I can't contain them in that way. उसकी कुछ खबर है तो बताओ यारो, हम किसी और दिलासे में नहीं आएंगे. मुख्तसर वक्त में ये बात नहीं हो सकती. दर्द इतने हैं खुलासे में नहीं आएंगे. जिस तरह आपने बीमार से रुखसत ली है, साफ लगता है जनाजे में नहीं आएंगे. Proper Dukhi Atma, proper Devdasu. Very highly depressive, but he says that if you have some news about her, then tell me. I won't fall under any other like if you're trying to distract me by something other than that, then forget about it. And he says, Mukhtasar waqt mein ye baat nahi ho sakti. That I can't have this, I can't speak in such a small set of time, like in briefly, I can't do that. That my pain is so much, a summary just won't do. Bullet points won't quite cut it. He says, Jis tarah aapne bimar se rukhsat li hai. The way that you've asked the sick person for leave, like for your leave, like as in you've taken permission to leave. Saaf lagta hai, it's so clear. Janaze mein nahi aayenge. It's so clear that you will not be attending the funeral. Then you just have those kind of Ghanaian, those coffin dancers looking in. Right, Ahmar, please get me on your podcast. All right, let's see. Why not? We'll see, inshallah. Petra theory, like somehow Petra is Makkah, saying something else. Do check out I have a clip called a reply to Dan Gibson, and I mentioned in the title Qusay. Qusay is one of the ancestors of the Prophet, and that explains this whole thing, the kind of Petra theory. I hope that helps. Any thoughts on Hegel? Right, so Hegelian philosophy. Just one moment. Nadeem says, is the meat of peccary halal? It's not really a pig. Peccary. What is peccary? See, this is where my ignorance comes out. Right, so where did the other question go? Hegel, right? Hegelian philosophy. I mean, it's right. So one of the key features, what he has is that he. I don't understand. Look at this. In this kind of like spy device. I don't understand. That's because I'm not talking to you. I don't understand. Right, so right now, what does it say? Where did it go? Right, yeah, so Hegel, that's it. So he has this thing on what is it? Kind of dialectic hermeneutics. He speaks about this. Well, basically, each era produces its equal counterpart, which then produces a kind of a middle, which then produces its counterpart. And he feels that this is a trajectory to attain the utmost, the state of the kingdom of God, if you like, will be ultimately attained like this. Now, I think that's interesting. That is, but otherwise, Zizek, Yusuf, you're doing it. It looks like a pig, but is less related to pig than donkeys are to horses. Right, okay, I'm not sure. To be honest, I don't know what that animal is. Mirpuri. Chalo on Mirpuri kuch gallan hoyi Jaun. We got to do a show just in Mirpuri. You know, some people, the way they speak Mirpuri, I can't stand it, but other people speak it well. Oh mana, okay, Ilya. That I can't stand, but some people speak it fine. But we could get a I wouldn't be the ideal person. I do speak Mirpuri, but it's Urdu में कुछ ज़्यादा मज़ा आता है. I do speak Mirpuri. ये भी सारी अपनी बोली है. Don't worry, man. Fit, fat, first class. Right. So why would you want to eat it anyway? Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that animal is. I can't really. Is Nietzsche's philosophy depressing? I don't know if it is really. I think Nietzsche was very interesting. You know, he had his genealogy of morals is very fascinating. That how morality came about was not how people think. Nietzsche said that morality came about in a way that it came from the poor people, kind of in an effort to self-validate. So they needed self-validation because they were poor, so like helping the poor, doing these things. And because the rich, the masters were greedy, that became immoral. So the masters became an emblem of immorality, and the slaves and the downtrodden, the low classes of society became the epitome of what is morality. And that's, I mean, whether it's true or not, I don't know, but it's incredibly fascinating. I definitely think so. And I think Nietzsche made some very good points, generally speaking. Is caramine red food additive halal? Yes, all of these things that are like small food additives, they are so tiny and kind of beyond the original, whatever they were extracted from. So they are fine. It's not they're not haram. Even if they were from animals or pig, or they've been kind of transformed. So we call this in Arabic istihala. And the Malikiya say that istihala taqtadi at-tahara, just as alcohol, once it transforms into vinegar, becomes pure. Just as if a person urinates over a growing plant or a tree, or people urinate over a tree, right? And then the jinn comes and gets them. The typical jinn story. But if people do that, it doesn't mean, and let's say the soil absorbs that urine, which is impure, and now the plant extracts nutrients from this as fluid to grow, it does not mean that the plant is haram or impure, because there's a transformation. So this is, in Arabic, is called istihala. And that the same goes for gelatin. Mufti, do you believe some people are born evil like serial killers? It's a fascinating question, because I think there are a tiny amount of people who, due to abnormalities, are like that. So for example, they may have certain parts of their neocortex is developed differently. Their brain, so we have inhibiting elements within our brain that inhibit us. Now they may lack some of these, so they have them, but not to the power that everybody else has them. Or they have sometimes enlarged. There was a study on serial killers and murderers, and they found that I think some part around the hippocampal area and other areas were larger significantly compared to other counterparts. So I think there could be that biological element, definitely. I'm not going to try and say that that can't be the case. But I think, as Freud said, that we are more moral than we think, yet far more immoral than we can imagine. I think that is true given circumstances. But generally speaking, I don't think people are necessarily evil, but they can be. You know, there was this interesting movie, it's a recent one. It was, what's it called? It was in Spanish. You see, I love watching Spanish movies just to help my Spanish. So, you know, I try and look out for any movie I can on Amazon, on Netflix that's in Spanish, all these TV series, and I try to go through them to improve my Spanish. So there's this movie, The Occupant, and it was on Netflix, and it's a strange movie, but it just, I mean, it is kind of like artistic in a way, because it just shows how certain people have this element of malice to their nature, that I think that they are kind of beyond normal people in being kind of somewhat evil. Yeah, I mean, that is strange, yeah. Mufti, what do you think about Bangladesh and its separation from Pakistan? I'm not a specialist on these areas. I don't think it could have ever worked, to be honest with you. Bangladesh and Pakistan could never have been one country because they're not joined anywhere. Like they've got they're separated by, thousands of miles. It's not, so how could this work? You've got to fly over India to get to Bangladesh, or you got to take the sea route. I mean, could that ever work? I couldn't see that working anyway. And then it was kind of obvious that Pakistan, because that's where the seat of power was, ultimately, that they were going to then neglect the Bangladesh, because they saw that East Pakistan, which was Bangladesh, it was called East Pakistan, as kind of, they're secondary. The main thing is here. It's a bit like how the UK will always focus on primarily London and Westminster, and that kind of, by extension, England. It will never focus on Wales, you understand? It's not a focus for the UK, unfortunately. But, I mean, in a similar way, and it's the same with many places. It's like America will, it'll always focus on Florida because that's where it gets a huge amount of revenue from. But it's not going to focus on some of those, the poorer states. So in a similar way, but this is even worse because they're so far separated. Pakistan just wasn't going to focus on East Pakistan as much. So it was in their interest to get separation, independence, and then I think the kind of civil war that broke out, if we can call it that, civil, because it was still at the time Pakistan, I think that was just a tragedy. I think there was much wrong done by many Pakistani soldiers towards Bangladeshis, and I think Bangladeshi women, rapes and things like this. And to be honest, look, this is, it's kind of it's an unfortunate natural consequence when you're going to get a bunch of foreign soldiers in a time where things are not really ruled by ethics, and put them in a territory where they are different by ethnicity, and they are the superior kind of being in that situation. They're the ones with the guns. And they're just a bunch of young men, geared up for action, just living there. And then this is what happens, unfortunately. They're going to see women. These people are going to be like bloody, testosterone's going to be through the roof. they're not, and this is why in many scenarios you're going to get this. Wherever you put armed forces like this in a scenario, just young, men that are kind of like all there for a while, and that too, kind of men that are very kind of action, driven. You're going to end up getting these kind of tragedies where they're going to end up trying to rape women and do stuff like this. And so, yeah, and then obviously Bangladesh kind of took support from India and betrayed Pakistan. But, well, I mean, one could say, well, what else were they meant to do? And then Pakistan has kind of not, Pakistanis kind of still, unfortunately, that resonates, this kind of treason thing in some Pakistani culture, that they will see, Bangladesh as a kind of like a traitor state, that these people kind of betrayed us and had the Indian army come in and surround Pakistani soldiers. And then Bangladeshi culture sees Pakistanis as like, these murderers and rapists, and yeah, and it's horrible and it's really bad. And I think it's a part of history that I wish never really happened. And I think it's a tragedy. So, but generally, I think Bangladeshi people are, by and large, a kind of a good, kind of more peaceful people. I feel. I don't know. From what I've seen, compared to like Pakistani lots, are a bit I don't know, a bit loud as a people. Whereas I feel that the Bangladeshi community, by and large, is a kind of like just gets on with it, a very, like they're not a kind of like a rowdy bunch. They're just kind of quiet and get on. I don't know. That's my impression. And so, yes, Allah. Right. Mufti Saab, which philosophers are your favorite? I love all kinds of philosophers, really. I mean, I love the classics, from Socrates, I suppose, being interpreted by Plato, right down. I mean, I will really take from any person that I can. I'm not kind of like, I only take from this particular philosopher because I think he's awesome. I will take from all kinds of, you tell me something interesting from the school of Stoicism and I'll take it, if it's good. Cool. All right, answer me, Mufti. It's called excess testosterone. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's unfortunate, but that's what happens. You get a bunch of men who are kind of all riled up. You put them amongst women, and it's not gonna. It's like bloody. They just. I say this anyway. Men are dogs. It's unfortunately a. It's it's a bad part of the nature of men, of males. Yeah. So what is going on? Answer me, Mufti. I don't know what to answer. Is alcohol made from honey halal? No. So alcohol made from basically not grapes and dates. The Hanafis do not call that khamar, but they call it an intoxicant still, muskir. Now that they say technically you can drink so long as it's not of an intoxicating, kind of like a strong, intensity. So like something, the kind of units that it carries, I think they say like if it's 3% alcohol or something, the Hanafi Method, and that they kind of allow it, I believe. Even Uthaymeen, believe it or not, the hardline Salafi, he's on YouTube saying, look, if it's 3%, don't worry about it. And then he puts the cup down. Your opinion on Zaytuna College and Cambridge Muslim College. Right, Zaytuna I think is great. Zaytuna is great. Cambridge as well. I think they're doing great jobs. I think these things are needed more and more in our society. Sahih Abu Layth. The Sahih of Abu Layth, that would be interesting. Somebody said, why are you telling us about the Hanafi Method? Oh, because the Hanafi stance on alcohol was a very, very interesting one. Because they said it wasn't khamar, it wasn't alcohol. That's why I'm quoting it. Right, so because that's the stance, it's the Hanafi stance. Do you speak Punjabi? Okay, not generally. I suppose Mirpuri is a kind of Punjabi dialect, I suppose. It's Patwari. It's a kind of that. But I mean, I understand it, Punjabi. But yeah, I'm mostly, if I'm speaking, let's say Desi, I'm mostly speaking Urdu. Mostly. But I do speak Mirpuri as well, like, let's say, with my parents and kada kada, chala gap hoi jani. You're like, acha. So, Mario what? Oh, where did that go? So, studying my master's in Islamic studies. Awesome if you are studying. Sadda Punjab hove. What is it? Kaun sa saag hove? Sadda Punjab hove. Mufti, is there a compilation of verified hadith only? There is, but I would disagree with many of those hadith. Like, obviously Sahih Bukhari is a compilation of allegedly Sahih hadith, but it's the you see, there's like 3 waves, if you like. Now, so there's the early kind of, you see, there's an early stage in which hadith just floats around. It just free floats. It's not it's not bound by any chain. Okay, chain of, you call a chain a sanad. Okay, or an isnad. You can call it isnad as well. It's from the same root as sanad. Now, then there comes a time when people start trying to bind the hadith with a chain. So in the 1st century after the Prophet, hadith is kind of just free floating, but the chain then emerges, the concept, about 100 years after the Prophet. This then starts to get documented. However, the central theme, the main thing, like in the time of Imam Malik, the main thing is the matan. The text of the hadith is the primary focus, and the chain is secondary. This is why Imam Malik sometimes misses out the chain. What happens is, after this era comes the major wave of the next wave of muhaddithin. The next wave of muhaddithin are the major compilers, the people, the authors of these books, like Bukhari, Muslim, all the Ibn Abi Shayba, Abdul Razzaq, all the Darmi, all these kind of people, Ahmad ibn Hanbal. These people are all compiling and writing out books. Now, they have a say on what hadith is sahih or not. What happens in this era is a Copernican shift. Peoples, Copernican. People think Mufti does not invent decent terminology. The Copernican shift, people, happens. So all of a sudden you have a shift from hadith, from the matan being the center of focus to the sanad now being the center of focus, and the matan is now secondary. So the matan is also important, but it's not as important as the chain. This is then further solidified by a later wave of muhaddithin that comes several centuries later, like Ibn Salah and Al-Iraqi and Ibn Hajr and all that final wave crystallizes this. And what's happened in the last century has been this wake-up call to realign this focus to how it was in the time of the Salaf. Okay, to go back to how the early part of this ummah were upon in making the center focus hadith, the matan, the wording of the Prophet, and the secondary aspect to be the chain. Not the other way that those muhaddithin, the second wave muhaddithin had kind of turned it into. So I hope that makes some sense. Yeah. Right, so that's, I feel that's interesting, because that's the sanad, people, the sanad. As the poet says, he says, Kullun nisa, Allah, Allah, Allah. All women, he's saying to this woman that the rest of the women, Kullun nisa, ahadithum bila sanadi. That all these women to me are like a hadith which have no chain. Wa anti hadithun libni Abbasi. He says to her, and you are you. You are you, yaar. You to me are like the hadith of Ibn Abbas. Kullun nisa'i ahadithun bila sanadi wa anti hadithun libni Abbasi. Allah, Allah. So, let's see what else is going on. Mufti, who is it that said without Bukhari and Muslim the deen would still be fine? Right, there was that slipped my mind, but you're right. I did actually quote it as well, but it's just slipped my mind right now. I am from Chakswari. Vah, 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 vah. I did go to Chakswari many years ago. So, what was really interesting is I was chatting to someone just the other day, and they were telling me that there's an institute in Islamabad, and it's got a... Right, I'm just going to come to this question mark. And it's got, I think it's called Julaybib Institute or something, but it's about Islamic sciences and reconciling. It's one that works in reconciling between, science and religion and that kind of stuff. And the fact that I was told that they actually do discuss me and my views there, it's not uncommon, that quite commonly at times. And I was really genuinely kind of wowed. I mean, I was flattered, but I was kind of like, wow. It's amazing, because in many ways I feel that places like Pakistan and, I'm obviously, I'm in a different category. I mean, you have like, you must have like Fasiq, Fajr, Kafir, Zindiq, Shaitan, Fir'aun, and then there must be like me. No, but I was joking aside. I was very kind of flattered to learn that, and I hope that there's more and more, institutes that talk about me. No, I hope there's more and more institutes that kind of start to develop an open mind in Pakistan. That's no, not Julab Institute. Khadim Rizvi is, I think it was Julaybi. That's the name of a companion. Right. So, Mufti, could you explain the hadith in Bukhari about the lawful and unlawful are clear, and between the two are doubtful matters which people should avoid? Yeah, what the hadith is saying, al-halalu bayyin wal-haramu bayyin wa baynahuma mushtabihat. Right, so what that means is that, look, in life sometimes some things are clear and some things are, like clear as a yes and clear as a no. Some things are in life, just as in the deen. But there will be, many a times there will be a grey area. And it's just saying that, look, sometimes it's better to just stop. It's giving just cautionary advice. I think there's nothing wrong with that aspect of the hadith. Chaudhry Saab says, Mufti, how many times you got married? Yeah, I've lost count. मत पूछ मुझसे मेरे दिल की कहानी हमदम, इसमें बहुत पर्दा नशीनों के भी नाम आते हैं. You can't ask me to expose these kind of things on air. Yeah, that's just a pure self-destructive move. Right, so, right, what's going down? Zeba has asked, what is the book of blank, clear records in Islam? Sorry, in the Quran. Book of blank, book of clear record. I'm not sure what that means. Do you mean the Lawh al-Mahfuz? I'm not sure what that means, actually. I'm not sure what the question fully is. How many fingers did you all see? I'd say 20 plus. I'd say it's in its 3 digits. Lucky, if I'm going to be honest, it's probably in its 4 digits. 3 is being generous. 3 is being modest. You know, Ibn Battuta, he was a great Maliki legend, and he was a great traveler of the world. And what he would do is every place he would go, he would stop and make sure he married. And even if it was a short stay, but he would, you know, it'd kind of be part of the culture. Get a real feel of how that culture community lived. And when he went to India, because the Indians were so, like, with their caste system, they don't marry out of the caste. So he was kind of like so frustrated with. He was like, yeah, what the hell's wrong with these people? Yeah, I think there were 1 or 2 that he still did marry, but generally he said that a lot of the castes, they didn't marry outside their own people. In India, he saw that. Yeah. So, Mufti, please comment on Bachabazi. Bachabazi. Toba, toba, toba. That's disgusting. Mufti fancies himself a Suleiman, I see. Why not? Is it not a... Right, so I think I was reading about... I'll come to the Bachabazi question in a moment. I don't know why somebody is thinking of Bachabazi. That's disgusting and despicable. Right, so I read somewhere, was it the king of Thailand or somewhere? He's gone into self-isolation with a harem of his women, with like 40 women or something. He's like 40 days, 40 women. Wow. See, that's the life that these people live. This is, well, people... It is what it is, huh? Mufti, have you seen Asrar's video for body washes of the dead? Right, clear. That's a good... Billy saying, I've got a friend called Ridwan who thinks he's Ibn Battuta. I know Ridhi. Ridhi from the Mamlaka. All right. Ridhi is also upon the tracks of Ibn Battuta. I think there is not a continent untouched that Ridhi has not set foot in, and he has not, whilst they're enculturated with a real feel of the community. Long live! That's the way, Ridhi. Right, so, right, I'll come to the question about Asrar. Bachabazi, somebody's asked, and somebody else has asked that as well. Are you married to white women? I don't see color in that way. I only see beauty in the creation of God. Allah, Allah, Allah. Do they not ponder أَفَلَا يَتَفَكَّرُونَ? Do they not ponder over the magnificence of God's creation? What's a bit of melanin or a lack of it here or there? Who cares? What's the... You see, we're not those that see melanin, NZK, KZN. Right, so any good Arabic books you recommend for beginners? That's an interesting one. I would actually, there's loads of books. Dr. Surti's Quranic Arabic is really good. It may be a bit boring but for some people, but it's actually very Quran oriented. So all your learning is always kind of centered around the Quran. They give you new verses, that you now understand, and you feel, wow, like I'm getting somewhere with this. So I definitely do like that. I would support it. There are other books like Arabiya Bayna Yadayk, and there's book 1, 2, 3, 4, I think, and they're good. There are quite a few books. Right now, right, this thing of Sheikh Asrar's, my beloved, he's come out saying, people, this is an obligation, you must give the dead body a wash. These cowards. You're lying. Meow. Oh, sorry. Raw. Meow. The lion of Ahl Sunnah. This is the thing with Asrar, isn't it? Like, I feel that Asrar so desperately wants to be relevant, but he's just not sure how to do it. And the way he does it, it's like, don't do it, yaar. Nahi, yaar. This was the one thing you're not to do. It's like years ago there was this sketch a clip from this movie scene where they're driving on a desert and he crashes the car. It's about the guy who has bad luck and he crashes the car, and the guy's like, there's only one tree in this entire desert and you crashed our car into it. There's only like one tree in the entire desert. And that's, it's like there's only a select few things that this is how not to do it. And that's how he goes and does it. So Asrar, I don't know what his situation. I really think he's going through maybe some depression or some anxiety, and I don't know, some stress. I mean, Asrar, you want to talk, yaar? You can always phone me, yaar. But yeah, this thing of, look, should we wash the dead body? Look, you don't need to wash the dead body. It's not an obligation. You can just let these things be. It's not the end of the world. Relax. People go, oh my God. But there's many people you don't wash. There's things like, it's not like, if water is an issue, you just do tayammum. Tayammum, Imam Malik said, is not any less than washing. It's not like the dead body is going to benefit from the washing. So it's just a ritual. So it's good if you can do it, if there are circumstances. Don't kind of go OTT. Its ghusl is like, in many ways, the same as the ghusl for the living. If you're a living person, your ghusl is an obligation. If you're in a state of ritual impurity, to take a shower is an obligation within the Sharia. But if, for example, there's some issues, like you're late for prayers, or according to the Malikiya, you can just do tayammum. Or if you weren't feeling well, or if there was some, even, you see, the Malikiya say, even if there was an issue like a cold, or you feared a cold, you could do tayammum. Now that's for the living. فَمَا بَالُكَ بِالْأَمْوَاتِ. What do you think about those that have actually passed away? I mean, what's the big deal there, that if you just do tayammum for them? So I don't really know what his issue is. Yeah. There's a new vid from Muhammad Hablas. I'm scared. Should I watch? I can't I'm going to be honest with you. Shukran, by the way, Salman Shah. Shukran, much love. Right back at you. Luqman, I'm gonna. Where is the number 72 coming from? Let me get to that. Right, so 72 isn't enough. You know, for insan, nothing is ever enough. This is the thing. We need to teach ourselves contentment and complacency. Allah, Allah, Allah. You know, this kind of speak of spiritual contentment, it doesn't suit me. But still, somebody has to teach you jahils. No, I mean, this, let me get to that. But, okay, first of all, this thing on Hablas. I just can't stand the guy, you know, since what I've heard about him from people who, you know, allegedly know him, put that aside, just the fact that somebody can go on video, go online, say things like, look, it doesn't matter if you kill babies, if you rape children, if you rape women, if you murder, if you're a drug dealer, if you do this, if you do that, but if you miss your prayers, but if you pray, then you are still more loved by God than somebody who misses his prayers or her prayers. Honestly, just what a twat. That there is nothing more damaging to Islam than this kind of nonsense. And I'm so disappointed by stuff, and I think somebody else said it as well, maybe inspired by him. So yeah, this is I really don't have much respect for him because of that. I would have expected him to have released a few years ago a kind of an apology video about that and kind of retracting that, but he hasn't, because they believe in it, you see. So right, yeah, right, what is this number 72? All right, is he in the house? Right, so Waqas saying, how are you? I'm good, lillahi alhamd, I'm good. Right, so this number 72, I'm not quite sure where they get this 72 from. There isn't a Sahih Hadith or anything, and it's definitely not in the Quran. You know, people say it's in the Quran, you're going to get 72 virgins waiting in paradise. Right, so Yusuf, Fulat, shukran. Right, may there be 72 waiting for you in paradise. Right, so, and Miyagi, I'll get to your question in just a moment. Right, so there is it's not an Islamic thing, this 72, in that sense. It's not established, it's not in the Quran, it's not in any authentic Sunnah. There may be some fabricated hadith around it. I think it just became a popular kind of number that kind of just drifted somehow. I know the number 70 was popular with the Arabs to represent like countless. Like people will say in English, we today use 100. So we'll say, oh man, I've told you 100 times. The Arabs used to use the word 70 like that, you know. So Allah says in the Quran that, you know, وَلَنْ يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ, Allah will not forgive them. استغفر لهم ولا تستغفر لهم. See, and even if you sought forgiveness 70 مرة, 70 times, we still won't forgive them. Now, this doesn't mean that if you said it 70 times, but it just means like countless times. But 72, they didn't, as far as I'm aware, didn't generally use that number like that. 72. They did use 70, but not 72. And this is just something that's just kind of floated. And it's, you know, taken some currency and people believe it, and that, oh, there's going to be 72 virgins. You know, it's amazing because you get sometimes like, you know, very dog puritanist people who kind of look down on all this sex in culture and like, oh, you filthy people with hatred, and these women who don't cover themselves, they're full of so much rage. And yet they kind of so like gloat and, you know, boast over this in their own circles that of fantasize over these kind of orgies in heaven of it's like the irony and the hypocrisy. It's shocking, because you think, well, look, don't get me wrong, I mean, I'm sure there isn't a single person who the thought of an orgy won't bring a smile to their face. Huh? I was a test. I was testing you. You munafiqs. Munafiq. Right, but, I mean, let's be real. Why the rage against people in this world, then? Why the kind of hatred for them? Like, sure, you don't have to do it. But I mean, why the hatred? Why the kind of, so yeah, I mean, to me, the afterlife is something much more complex. Like, it's different, and it's not something that can maybe be put into words. And that's what the Hadith says as well, actually, that it's something that can't even be put into concepts. To me, maybe the continuity is one to do with consciousness, the ruh, and it's to do with, maybe there is no gender. There is no, it's a continuity. I mean, we just don't know. We can't fathom it. But I don't think it's like in this way, the way it's. But I also do get the fact that to a lot of people, they need, like, they can't, they need something very concrete. They're not with the kind of abstract. They're not into abstract art. They say, yaar koi, consciousness, acha koi consciousness, thinking, acha koi sex bhi hoga. This is the kind of thinking. Acha koi alcohol, kahul, sharab. This is how people, this is how the kind of level that many people are at. So I get that, and that's why the imagery reflects, it works for them. Yeah. Mr. Miyagi had asked any tips on hifth during isolation. Alright. So, Inaya, have you always had such a happy-go-lucky attitude? I don't know, well, well, I know childhood was a horror story, so I'm not going to go there. But I think once of age, of some... I think maybe, but it's difficult now, because in hindsight, it's difficult sometimes seeing yourself not through your own current lens, because when I look back on myself, I kind of almost see myself like as me now, but just then. And I'm sure I wasn't, because I'm sure my views have changed, my thoughts have changed, my attitudes may have changed, so... Yeah, and I think you also... Do you know something? This attitude that, Inaya, you asked. I think you pick it up being around certain people. So I think this is it's a kind of... it's like a contagious attitude. If you're around certain people that have this kind of stoic approach to life, a bit easy, laid back... I think it's amazing, honestly. And I think I've been around a few people like that have kind of really influenced me in that way. Amongst them, one of them was my uncle in Karachi, who I lived with. May Allah have mercy on his soul. He's passed away. But he had a great style. I totally just loved his style. I loved his kind of, he had humor, he had kind of charisma, he had a very positive attitude as well. I don't know, maybe I subconsciously, we're always influenced by people, so I definitely believe I would have been influenced by him as well. But maybe I had it already, I don't know. It's difficult to... But I do feel that these things can be picked up. Salam from New Zealand, Yummy Yahya. Huh? Yummy Yahya. यार ये Yummy Yahya कैसे सो? ما هذا? So human looking. Mufti, on which datum are you born? What does that mean, datum? On which datum? What's a datum? Data? The singular of data. On which data? I don't know. Does that mean a particular calendar or... Mufti, on which datum are you? I don't understand the question. Yeah, I genuinely don't know what datum mean. Mufti, what's your credit card number? What's your pin, Mufti? What's your pin? Quickly. Just say it before you before you kick the bucket. For example, 5th July. Oh, my birthday. Do you mean my birthday? Is that what you mean? Is that what it means? When's your birthday? Can you please talk about the fear of death and its implications? Oof. Yaar, somebody... Datu equals Swedish. Is zina specifically cheating? No, don't spam. How much you benching? Look at the questions coming through, people. Ah, yeah. My birthday? My birthday is on January the 16th. So, right. People really curious about me personally. Yeah, I have siblings. I'm right in the middle of 6 siblings. There you go. Right. But they're not really involved in the religious thing at all, really. So, yeah. But I'm bang in the middle. We're like 3 boys, 3 girls. I'm in the middle. So, Mufti, do you skip leg day? I don't, but I'm right now being forced to skip the gym altogether. Right, so somebody said we have the same birthday. Alright. Doing it. Where'd you buy your books from? I order online. A lot of the times when I go abroad, I take trips to buy books sometimes. Like, when I'm feeling a little break, I might fly out. Not right now with Corona. But I've bought from online websites. I think there's a Nil wa Furat. There was Maktaba with, I think, not the British, but there was, it's based in Lebanon. It was based in Lebanon. I've bought from them. I've bought from other websites. I've had people buy me books, post them to me. I've all kinds. If I'm interested in a book, I'll just follow it through. Did I go to Darul Uloom Bury? I absolutely didn't. No. I didn't go to Darul Uloom Bury at all, thank God. Otherwise, I'd be sitting here like, brothers, this is haram. Am I from Pakistan? Ethnically, yes, I'm from Pakistan originally. Ethnically from Azad Kashmir, like the other Mirpuris. But I did have family in Karachi as well, though. My nan was in Karachi and that side, my uncle. Yeah, and I spent most of my time in Pakistan, probably about 5-6 years in Karachi. So, yeah. But I think, yeah, why not? It's all good. Somebody said they're from Kashmir. I take it you mean the Indian Kashmir, probably. That's awesome. I would love to visit India someday, but then, the problem is India's just so volatile sometimes. You think, yaar, pata nahi ho kya jayega. It's like, you never know. Right, Mufti Hassan Nisar, you're doing it. What are my opinions on Ibn Rushd al-Hafid and his Islamic legacy? I think Ibn Rushd is a legend who's been undermined by Islamic scholarship. His book Bidayat al-Mujtahid is an epic book, which, to be fair, is given due credit, but he isn't. Ibn Rushd al-Hafid was the philosopher, the Maliki from Muslim Spain, about maybe about 900 years ago, and he was, I mean, he was amazing. He had some, some amazing thoughts. He thought out of the box and things like that. So I really do love him. He has a book, he has many books, but he has this book called Faslul Maqal, where he speaks about, is there a clash between religion and science? And because falsafa in his day and age was science. Falsafa in his day and age was not restricted to philosophy today. Philosophy today is just abstract thought. But falsafa in their day and age covered the world around you. So it covered biology, covered things like botany, covered things like about, zoology, about animals. It covered, so the sciences weren't that kind of unpacked and separated as they are today. So in his day and age, when he says, so in the book he does explain it's about the world around you and everything in it. Is there a clash between what we would say today science and religion? So yeah. Ismail has asked, would I have Dawah Man on the podcast? Why not? I wouldn't mind having Dawah Man on the podcast. Yeah, I'll try and reach out to him at some point. Get him on there. Ask him, what's this about the lollipops, yaar? Sisters, you like this lollipop? You like this lollipop and the wrapper is off it and it's on the floor and there's ants on it. Sisters, the ants have eaten you up. I honestly don't get, and I don't get the general, I mean, I suppose I do get, but I don't agree with the whole insecurity that a lot of men have when it comes to, especially I think sometimes religious people more so, when it comes to women and like sexual partners and things like this, and they feel that, oh my God, she's used, it's like, whoa, calm, chill out, mate. Used. And I feel that that's an insecurity that the person has with themselves. That they feel, that they can't, I don't know, like maybe they feel that they're going to be lacking. And it doesn't just have to be quantity. I know we're not all of a particular breed, shall we say, but the thing is, it's a qualitative experience, isn't it? And a person doesn't need to feel so insecure, but I feel that in religion, there's, unfortunately, a lot of this is pushed. Yeah, I mean, somebody said, you mean experience? To be honest, I totally agree. I don't see. And the Arabs of the past never had this. They never had this thing about, I mean, it did exist. It wasn't that it didn't exist, but it wasn't generally about virgins. It wasn't about like they, died over, because you see in the old Arab societies and early Islamic societies, the divorcee women easily remarried, instantly remarried. It wasn't even it was just instantaneous. It was like such a norm. It was never a thing that was being sought out. Even, people might say about the Prophet, it's not true, because the Prophet, with the exception of Aisha radiallahu anha, all of his wives that he ever married were not virgins when he married them. They never had this obsession with kind of, and I don't know why, I just see that as insecurity that's been kind of wrapped up in religion. Because there's no religious aspect. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not, obviously it's fine, but what I'm trying to say is it's fine in any scenario. It's not something which, yeah. Doesn't Dawah Man believe certain sex positions are haram? I think, if I recall correctly, he said certain positions lead one to becoming homosexual. Unless that position was like, I don't know, in the men's shower room. and it was whilst they're bending over to pick up some soap. I don't know why that position would, any position in a heterosexual relationship would make a person become gay. I just these people. I perceive men, Zeba says, as my virgins. I've not slept. Oh, you got to be careful here, people. Best way to learn. Right, so somebody had asked a question about hifth, how to do hifth. Let me share some tips. There's a little bit of a masala segment. I'll do a bit of that, and then we got to wrap this up, folks. So, hifth, if you're doing hifth, a good way to do it, the way I did it, okay, when I memorized the Quran, what I would do is, I haven't got the Quran. I was thinking if I could. No, I haven't got the Mus'haf here, but nevertheless, let's just say, I mean, this ain't the Mus'haf, but let's pretend. So let's say this was the Mus'haf. Now, what I would do is, I would take a line. So before, I would set a time when I'm going to memorize. So let's say my time for memorizing was usually after Maghrib. It was like into the evening. And then it would be up until, then we'd have a break, we'd have food. And then after that, it would be up till Isha. And then a bit after Isha. And then we'd kind of go to sleep. So, because this was in the madrasa that I was staying in Islamabad many, many years ago. So, now, what I would do is, and I had set this myself, it was my kind of strategy, that before we even got to memorizing time, so we used to have a break between Asr and Maghrib. It was a break, you go out, chill out, play, walk, drink some tea, do whatever you want. So, you know, kids played cricket, football, whatever they wanted. Now, before that break, what I would do is I would read over my entire thing that I'm going to memorize. But the way I would read it over is I would take one line, one verse. I would read one verse until, like, I would read it a few times, like let's say 5 times, 6 times, until I can look away and read it. Now, once I can do that, I'll read the next verse. I'll read the next verse, until I can look away and read it. And then what I'll do is I'll try and read the first verse and second verse. And then I would do this till halfway on the page, and then I would start from the second half of the page doing the same thing again. I would just read one line until I can, not one verse, until I can look away and read it. So I've read it, let's say 5-6 times. Now the next one with it, so the first and the second, then the first, second, third, then fourth, first, second, third, fourth. And now I would go to my break. And now by the time I come back, I've forgotten. But I'm happy to forget. I want to forget. So when I come back, now what I would do is I used to take a break. Maghrib time, I used to, up until eating, up until the kind of dinner break, which was like about an hour or about 50 minutes, I used to go into a separate room or into their library. I had permission to do so. And what I used to do is I used to go over each verse with its translation in English. I used to use the Abdullah Yusuf Ali Quran. I used to check up any hard words that I didn't understand in Arabic. So I had like what was it called? The Mufradat of the Quran, and I had by Raghib Lasfahani as well, his as well. And then I would check up 1-2 tafsirs to add some detail to the story. Now, because let's say I'm memorizing 2 pages today or 4 pages today, then it's not too difficult to do. I'd check a few tafsirs, and now I'd go. I'd have my break, dinner break, and when I come back now, I would memorize in the same way. I would read over the verse several times until I look away and can, but this time I would do it continuously. And once I've done that, that's how I'll do it to one page, start fresh from the second page all the way. Then I'll do page 1, page 2 together, then start page 3 down, then page 4 on its own, then page 3, page 4 together, then page 1, 2, 3, 4 together. Now, once I've done that, I used to be good. Now, I would then try to repeat that in my salah. So when we went to Isha, I would try to read that what I've memorized to myself. And where I get stuck, I would really struggle, but I have to get that breakthrough. And sometimes I would end up going and looking it up, but that would be, and I'd repeat it through that Isha thing. I'd repeat it once before I sleep to myself. As I wake up, I would try to repeat it in the morning prayer. And now when I went to class, I had it. Simple as that. So that's how I used to memorize the Quran when I did. And I had a rule that when I'm ready to increase, it's double or nothing. So if I'm going to increase how much I memorize, I have to double the entire quantity. Otherwise, I ain't doing, like, I can't go, there's no fractions. So I began from 1 page, and then I went from 1 page to 2 pages. Then from 2 pages, I had to go to 4 pages. This was my own self-imposed rule. So, and then eventually I went from 4 pages to 8 pages. And then like half a juz. Right, so, but you have this cognitive opening, okay. There are also some du'as and stuff that you can read that kind of helps you as well. Right, okay, and I have got a video on that as well. Right, I think I've forgotten how to read the Quran. There's no harm if you've forgotten in owning up to that. I think that you can start again. It's nothing, don't think, look, there's a lot of people who've turned religion into something unfortunately nasty or horrible or something a bit somber and a bit kind of morbid. Don't let them, monopolize this religion. It doesn't belong to them. It belongs to anybody who wants it. If you don't know how to read the Quran, there's no shame in just learning. You can learn from YouTube nowadays. You can just alif, ba, ta, tha. You get a basic thing. You can get printouts nowadays. You get free lessons online. You get, you practice a bit within. I guarantee you would learn all the alphabet. You'd learn how to read the letters. You'd learn all of that. Within 1 week, you would be reading. I think within 4 weeks, you'd be reading with fluency. If it's just reading. That's how, that's guaranteed. So it's nothing difficult. I think if you've forgotten, you can always learn. All right, people, let's wrap this up. Before we do wrap it up. All right, now, peoples. You see, for so long, people have been criticizing not only me, but many other people on our haircuts. Yeah, so I actually need a haircut. I'm just, bloody quarantine, huh? But now, this, he has a fade, short back and sides, this is haram, this is qaza', this is this, and the Salafiyah bang on about it, and the Deobandiyah bang on about it, and the mullahs bang on, and they bully these young children into saying that's haram. They make them have like these ridiculous geek hairstyles all their lives. And then with time, they just realize as well. So this before us is, I came across this. This was Sheikh Abu Isa from the UK, who'd, as you can see, I think that was his kid. He'd kind of cut his hair. And many people thought that was a picture of me. Which, to be fair, I thought, God damn, when I saw it as well, I thought, bloody hell. So the people went off as well, saying, in commenting, they were saying like, so some of the comments said, MashaAllah, I didn't know you were Mufti Abu Layth's Baba. And then it mentioned this, somebody said, this haircut reminds me of someone and a so-called Mufti from the Midlands. And somebody said, nothing. Alright, somebody said. And then they've obviously asked Abu Isa that, look, isn't this haram? And, is this haircut permissible? Honest question. I was never allowed to have this. And then Abu Isa says, yes, it's permissible. It's this one, no problem, this one. Now, the thing is that, you see, for so long, for like 2 decades, in the West especially, children have been bullied by these kind of mulvis to say this is haram. And now what's happened is they're just gonna eventually just say the same thing that I've been saying all this while, that actually that isn't haram, because the other haircut obviously looks dumb on my on my own children, or on my own nephew, or on my own. This looks normal. So when I see this kind of stuff, it makes me think. कभी ख्वाब में अल्लाह मियाँ कुछ इशारे करते हैं. So this, you see, this is the thing. Now we're probably going to get, I guarantee you, there's probably going to be a ruling from now, Yasir Qadi or someone saying that, that's actually absolutely fine to have a fade haircut. And, because now one of their own, like Sheikh Abu Isa, is doing it. So you're going to get, and then some other kind of Salafi scholars are going to come out and say, well, actually, yeah, it's fine. And all this while that they've been kind of, these kind of people, I'm not saying necessarily Sheikh Abu Isa to me, but this group of people from that denomination, Ahlul Hadith and Deobandis, have been kind of slagging me off for saying, look at his haircut, and look at how he trims this, and look at this, you nutty. And this is how they tease me, people. So when I say that I'm just ahead of the curve, that's all it is. These people, I guarantee you that, in maybe the next 10 years, they will be saying all these other rulings that I'm saying now. They will be saying that, things like, oh, well, actually, the beard, it's not haram if you shave it, or if you do this. They will say things like evolution is not haram to believe in evolution. They will be reconciling between some of these. I guarantee you, they will be doing all of these things. It's just that, I'm ahead of the curve here, people. That's all it is. As the Joker said, I'm not crazy. I'm just ahead of the curve. And yes, somebody said, I didn't know that that's popular. That is so popular. These people, in schools, in masjids, my own nephew was sent back from his masjid. I know several people they sent back from masjids. It's haram. You're not allowed to have this haircut, because all your hair ain't same length. Well, how can all the hair be same length? Because if this hair is growing long and that hair is growing long, that hair gonna be short. Yeah. It's like that meme where the guy's looking at a new car. And he's like, oh, this new car, and he says to the salesman, he says, oh, he looks at the boot and he says, cargo space. And the guy goes, no, cargo road, car no go space, cargo road. This car, no plane, this cargo road. So this is the thing, you see, that you can't have different length hair. That's dumb. That's like the dumb. Nobody even thought that through. They just, I don't have hair same length. Well, that the Prophet had long hair. How can you have long hair if it's all the same length? That's dumb. Because you see, you can't do that, because that means your sideburn hair is going to be as long as your head hair, which is going to be as long as the hair growing from the back of your neck. That just can't be. You're going to trim certain hair to kind of tie it in together. And the Prophet at times did braid his hair, as the companions often did. So this is the ridiculous thing that we're seeing. We see this, and the Mulvis are like, shave their hair. And they think this is a punishment. I don't get, on one hand, they think it's a it's Islamic. I don't know where they get that from. Tahawi, he kind of screws this up a bit because he comes out with, it's Islamic to kind of shave your hair. Even though the hadith in Sahih Muslim says to shave your hair is a sign of the Khawarij of this ummah, those who will be astray and misguided. That's what the hadith in Sahih Muslim says. It says, وَسِيمَاهُمُ التَّحْلِيقِ, and their symbol, you will know them by the fact that they shave their heads. That's the hadith. Now, so this, okay, now, but anyway, Imam Tahawi kind of says, because the Prophet shaved his head for Umrah, and for the Hajj, that therefore it's Sunnah. And you think, well, in the Hajj, you walk around in an ihram. I don't think walking around in an ihram is also Sunnah. But anyway, the other madhabs considered, look, just have, the Prophet said, if you're going to have hair, take care of it. Man kana lahu sha'ar fal yukrimhu. Take care of it. And the companion says, when he said that to me, I used to comb my hair twice a day, at least, because the Prophet said that. So I think, these things, and it's so, yeah, and it's become this thing, especially in the Indo-Pak world. And in the madrasas, on one hand, they do it as a punishment, a control mechanism. So this one time, check this out, people, and then we're going to wrap this up. We were in Dawra Hadith, which is the final Bukhari class, and there used to be about 90 odd students in our class, and still somebody took top positions in the exams. Rather, right? So anyway, there are about 90 odd students in our class, and this one time, the principal, he comes in and he's teaching us Bukhari, and he's fuming, and he slams the book shut, and he goes, yahan pe talib-e-ilm ki surat mein shaitan hai. There's some devils, demons amongst you who pretend to be students of knowledge, and we've caught one out. So I thought that, oh my God. And he goes, you know what? And we've punished him, and we've done this. And I'm trying to figure out what was this guy doing, because I'm thinking anyway, he must have been up to some natty, some hanky panky, and he must have got busted. And everybody's like, what did he do? He's like, wo talib ilm nahi tha, wo shaitan tha, shaitan. He was a shaitan. And then all of a sudden, we're waiting, the suspense drum roll is killing us. What did this guy do? I mean, was he caught? How many students had he done? Was he trying to be a Casanova amongst the male dormitories? What was this guy doing? Right, so it turns out that this was a Sri Lankan kid, and all he had done was he'd gone out on the day off, which was a Friday. We used to have a Friday off. And he was watching some TV in a cafe not too far from the madrasa. That was it. I was expecting there was some kind of either rape or some kind of some brutal kind of what had happened. The way he said that this devil, we caught him, we punished him, we made an example out of him. And I was thinking, whoa. And then he's like, it's this Sri Lankan kid. And so we realized, he's not in class. Yeah, there's a Sri Lankan kid, usually sits over there. And he wasn't there. And it's because what we've done is we've punished him, and we've suspended him, and we've beat him up, and they battered him with sticks. It's like, what the hell is wrong with you guys? And they go, and he was wearing jeans whilst in the cafe. Tumhari ye aukat, you sat in jeans. And it was regular the guy was watching cricket or something. And do you know what they did? They shaved his head. they got him as a punishment. They brought in the masjid courtyard, and they shaved his head. I just thought, wow, like, what the hell is wrong with you guys? Like, is this like, what is seriously, you guys all need some serious help. This is not, where's the reset button? Can I unplug this and plug it back in and reset the whole software here? This is, what? And they were like, now that he's bold, we're going to see, does he go out? People are going to say, ye dekho, aa gaya hai takla. They're going to say, takla aa gaya hai takla. They're going to say the boldie has come. And, let's beat the drums on his head. And they go, I mean, this, honestly, somebody said that's bullying. There was next level of bullying that used to go on in those madrasas. I'm telling you. One day I'm going to try and get on my Mind Trap, a student, and maybe we can reminisce over some of the things, if he'll agree to it, that is. Yeah. But, yeah, so guys, let's wrap this up. But it's just crazy stuff, man. It's touching the eyebrows. Is touching the eyebrows haram? Why would touching your eyebrows be haram? I mean, what's wrong with touching your eyebrows? Was in the razors whilst he was screaming no. Turned him into, this is it. What influence? It was ridiculous, I'm telling you. These it was next level. Don't get me wrong, some teachers were great people, but it's a different world though. Honestly, it's a different world. It's a very kind of brutal. Do you remember what you read when you read academic works? How do you remember what you read? How I remember, usually when I read something interesting, try to enjoy it, I try to explain it to someone. That always helps. If you enjoy something, try and explain it to someone. Guys, let's wrap this up. If you do want to reach out to me with anything, Instagram, message me. If you Facebook Messenger as well. Subscribe to my channels. I'm going to put them on. If you haven't watched Mind Trap, I think I'm going to have to call that principal to deal with you. We're going to have to, you don't watch Mind Trap. Takla kar do isko. Shave his hair off. It's like, so, yeah, people like it, click the notification. I'm releasing videos daily, so you stay up to date with them. If you know any people who are interesting and interested, right, reach out to them, hook me up with them, and not that kind of a hookup, but as in set it up, and I can get if they make good conversationalists. Okay, if they're people who can have a decent ego. Ma'as salama. في أمان الله والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.